the music in the background or no?
No.
Get some reggaeton rolling, preparing for
No,
Medellin.
dude, I have my list ready.
Your playlist, your reggaeton
Yeah,
playlist.
I have my
We're live. We're live. I hope maybe some slight reggaeton background music. Why not to get into the spirit of Latin America? But yeah, we're back. Welcome everybody. I see 20 people already here. Share this link with everybody from the Evmos community, cosmonauts all over the world. They need to see this. This is the second interview with Federico here. You've been on the channel a couple of times, but this is the second time. It's just you and I. So,
yeah.
How are you, my man?
I'm good, man. I'm really hoping to do this more often with you. To talk about like deep dives and what's happening right now in the ecosystem, and also like share some ideas about how can we improve the entire Evmos ecosystem, and especially Evmos, Cosmos and Evmos ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, we also got a request that we should do this in German one day.
my German is limited, but it's in progress.
Aber du kannst Deutsch reden, oder?
Ja, ich verstehe alles.
Du verstehst alles.
Ja.
Okay. Aber sprechen ist schwierig. On the spot. We can do it in German, we can do it in Spanish. It's all gonna come, friends. It's all gonna come. But yeah, so we will talk mainly about interchain security today, and how it could possibly come to Evmos. Also a little bit about how Evmos is the probably one of the best, or maybe the best spot for blue chips, especially from Ethereum blue chips, to deploy their product on. But yeah, since it's been a while that you've been on my channel alone, maybe share a little bit of updates since the last. I mean, you don't have to give an intro about yourself; everybody knows you. But just some updates about the last few weeks and months in Evmos. What are some of the things that you're very proud of? What are some of the things that you think you guys could have done better or could do better moving forward from now on? Maybe you can give a little bit of a recap of basically Evmos since launch.
Yeah, definitely. I can start by just sharing where we're now and the things that we've done since the mainnet launch. So we've been trying to work a lot on like UX, specifically on using the Evmos dashboard. The airdrop has been live, and we've been listening to the community and trying to figure out ways where even Kepler users can claim the last 25%. And we've been also now, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, 2 days ago actually, we finally released our assets page, which is going to serve, I'm not sure if you remember the Emeris interface. It's going to act as that interface where you can see your portfolio of tokens. And you can like IBC them to other chains, but you can also use them on the EVM. And the magic of this is that it supports native Cosmos tokens, and also ERC20 tokens. So you'll be able to convert those tokens, use them on the EVM, and transfer them over using Kepler and also MetaMask. And yeah, that's kind of like what we're doing on the product side. And in our roadmap, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our roadmap afterwards, but what you can expect now is validator fairness. So we're changing the way how we present the information about validators to the end user so that they can make like more informed decisions about the roles that each of the validators take in the ecosystem and how active they are in governance, how's their uptime, if they don't miss any blocks, etc. And then after that, we're also working on auto compounding. So restake natively implemented on the application so that you, no matter what, if you're using Ledger, MetaMask, or Kepler, you can automatically stake your tokens, and you can just like stake once and just forget about it. And it's going to be super simple for you to provide security and Evmos tokens to help secure the network. And
I can also let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
And then Yeah, you can see the assets, what you just mentioned, what you just talked about. So this is brand new. This launched yesterday, right? Or the day before.
Yep, exactly.
And then you can also, I guess, do
you can convert them to wrapped Evmos tokens and wrapped tokens that live on the EVM, or they're represented as native tokens. And I think we're
Gravity Bridge implementation, right?
Yeah, so those are the bridge assets that have been transferred over to that have passed these governance proposal type. And then we're adding, I think, Atom and Osmosis support
nice.
This week. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you could now hold your bridged Osmo on MetaMask.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Which is yeah, you can use that on the EVM directly.
Yeah, and then regarding the airdrop, since you also mentioned it, so initially the DK was supposed to start July 1st, right? But then there was an on-chain proposal to extend it for a month.
Yeah.
So it's now August 1st, which is 3 days away.
Yeah.
So everybody does, because only 25.13% out of the 100 million tokens have been claimed. The rest will be clawed back into the community pool, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we'll be clawed back, and then we're currently doing some discussions with the rest of the community of what to do with that. So, and I just recently shared a tweet about like how we can create incentives for staking as well. Because you also mentioned before, like, oh, what's the current state of the network? Or created these ERC20s. We're right now finalizing the token model, but as also part of our retrospective of the things that we've shipped so far and the things that we could have done better, is increasing the amount of security of the network, and this also is related to our value proposition as serving as the infrastructure hub for Cosmos and as this EVM hub in the entire Cosmos ecosystem. So increasing security and creating, like, for example, incentives for staking in the same way that you find them on Osmosis. If you provide security besides the fees that you get for every swap, according to your share of the pool, you also get incentives on top of that that can be allocated by the protocol directly or by external incentives. So in the same way, I believe that you can implement that with for providing security. In this case, staking directly your Evmos tokens and unlocking them to just to increase the required amount to like hold the network. And I think this will be great for increasing like the positioning of Evmos in the entire Cosmos ecosystem, but also in the EVM ecosystem, because higher security and proof of stake means like there will also be like more applications considering that are going to be considering deploying their blue chip projects on Evmos. But yeah, so like given that, I think like one of the major limitations right now, together with the security that we want to increase the bonding ratio, is also like liquidity, which is quite low in some of the dexes in particular. So for that, if we're able to combine these like staking incentives together with, for example, liquid staking implemented natively, I think like there will be one simple choice for end users, which will be like, okay, I have my Evmos tokens, I'm gonna provide security, and they're gonna be multiple options, but this is gonna be the rational one from an economics perspective. I'm gonna stake my Evmos tokens, get my liquid staking token of the Evmos represented asset, and then use that on the EVM to provide liquidity for all these Evmos application, or use that directly on the EVM as an ERC20, etc. So that's a goal that we want to have, is like increase the security of the network and have more liquidity available for all these applications that will be deployed in Evmos.
So what is the latest stage with the liquid staking implementation? Because I know you did a little bit of research the last few weeks, talked with a lot of teams, and there's a bunch of them, right? P-Stake, there's Stride, there's Quicksilver, obviously, right? Lido now as well. So what implementation do you personally think might be the smartest to go with? Or are you going to build your own liquid staking solution? What's
I think we're
the
I think we'll end up. What we're gonna do is like take the best components of each implementation and adapt it so that we can offer the best security guarantees and more flexibility. So that, for example, like smart contracts can also stake their tokens, because smart contracts are represented as accounts that are linked to a smart contract code. So in this case, smart contracts, the idea would be for them to also stake if they have like assets on that smart contract balance. You can also stake those Evmos tokens. So like implementing some sort of like hybrid model where you can like implement liquid staking, offer the best security so that you can have a low surface areas of attacks, and also maybe implement some sort of super fluid staking, sort of like in a modular way that you can tell applications, hey, register, like if you have a pool with LP tokens in the same way that Osmosis has this implemented, you can tell applications that are deploying Evmos, hey, tell us how many tokens you do have locked on your applications, and we'll count that as part of the security of the network. If you could implement that, that will also be huge, because then you'll be able to provide security through staking your Evmos tokens, or if you're using your wrapped Evmos tokens directly on these applications or these like LP pools, you'll be also able to count that as liquid staking if you stake the LP token, for example. So,
Do
yeah.
you have is there like a rough timeline where you think like by that time I would like to have liquid staking implemented?
I don't have a rough timeline. Right now we're finishing some like the token model implementation, which is gonna allow everyone to um, so that every time that you spend your transactions fees on applications on Evmos, you'll be sharing 50% with the validators and 50% with the developers. And this is going to also change the way that these applications get funding. And right after that, this is going to be the next upcoming release. And after that, we're going to be prioritizing liquid staking. So not this release, but the following one. So
All right.
we still need to define like the scope for the next release. And so after we finish that, I'll be able to tell you with more confidence when we're gonna have that. But it's high in the list of priorities, I would say.
Yeah, I think the next months, especially now with Interchain security coming to the Cosmos Hub, we'll see a lot of liquid staking implementations across Cosmos chains. So let's see how that goes. But yeah, and then I also saw that you guys, so Evmos was listed on Huobi, and there's also an ongoing hackathon.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, and what is the goals with the hackathon? I think you have multiple hackathons in the works, right?
Yeah, so there's like Hackathon, there's a Huobi Momentum hackathon that we're also sponsoring, and there are like a few ones. I think there's one in Bogota, and then another one in SF for SF Blockchain Week, and the one in Bogota is going to be right before DevCon. So there's going to be like, hopefully we can get more momentum across the different applications. And the Huobi one, it's great because you also have different categories, and no matter what's the stage of the project, you can also you can apply. So if you're a developer running your smart contracts for the EVM, apply to this hackathon, because then you'll have you will still eligible no matter if you start like a month ago or just very recently.
Yeah, there's also a question in that context, like what do you expect to come out of these hackathons?
So one is to create more awareness across the different applications and projects. So we want to have this interchain strategy where we see in the future that applications will deploy their apps only to Evmos, and through native interoperability and EVM bridges, they'll be able to connect to all the app chains and all the EVM chains in the ecosystem. So we want to raise the awareness for these projects in order for them to uniquely leverage the functionalities that we have on Evmos, namely interoperability, token model, all the incentives that we're building, etc.
Yeah, I think that's a good transition, because there's a lot of EVM implementations out there across different ecosystems. But maybe you can explain for those that are new to Cosmos or new to Evmos, which I think there are some people here also right now listening. We have almost 60 people right now here. So how does the EVM implementation on Evmos make it more beneficial for developers? What are some of the benefits, and why would it make sense to say, hey, I want to build something on the EVM. I either start right away on Evmos, or I already have something somewhere else, but I want to look for options. What would be
so the main thing is like it's a fully IBC enabled EVM. That means that besides all this smart contract functionality that you find on other EVM chains, you can connect your smart contract or your ERC20 token to other chains in the ecosystem. It has also low costs for users because transaction fees are relatively slow compared to Ethereum, but that's kind of like a given based on the transaction volume as well, on the demand. But the main thing that you can do is also discover new use cases through these token model and this native interoperability that I was mentioning before. And as a developer, you can get revenue from transaction fees. So if your team wants to deploy your application on Evmos, from day one, you get 50% of the transaction fees, which is something that no other layer one that supports smart contracts has deployed at the moment. And besides all that, you have like seamless user experience of the programmability of the EVM from Ethereum and the interoperability from Cosmos, which you can use to expand your user base into this new ecosystem that is the Interchain ecosystem from Cosmos.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I think so far it's been really smooth. I mean, there were some, especially after a recent upgrade, I think there was RPC updates that didn't go really, really fast. So I think some people were having issues using the dashboard. I think overall, the whole experience and interaction with the chain is really smooth. And you can also look at the numbers on MintScan, like the chain is active, the network is active across different applications on Evmos. So I don't know, are there some of the dApps right now in Evmos that you would point out where you say they are like the blue chips on Evmos right now? And are there some that are coming that we don't know about yet?
Yeah, so I think if you go to DeFi Llama, I think Diffusion has a really high dominance compared in terms of TVL. And there are other notable ones that I think altcoin Psycho has been talking to get like into the liquidity program. Orbital Apes also has this marketplace called the Orbit Market that has really been bootstrapping the NFT ecosystem on Evmos. And yeah, really looking also forward to getting more applications to be deployed on Evmos. We also passed the snapshot with Aave. They're waiting on the deployment of some critical infrastructure. And hopefully in a few weeks from now, we'll be able to share some information about other blue chips deploying to Evmos.
So there's stuff in the works.
There's a lot of stuff in the works. Yeah, we've been working a lot in stability in order to ensure that these blue chip applications deploy on Evmos seamlessly.
Yeah. I also listened to your talk at Nebula. I mean, I wasn't there, but I listened to it on the stream. And I think if I recall correctly, you also said like in general, you're pretty bullish or like excited about what's coming to Ethereum itself and also to the EVM. So where do you see like in the long term the EVM going? Because I like some people are saying like the EVM is outdated, it's gonna die. It's the first generation, it's slow and this and that. Where do you see the EVM going in the long term, and like how do you want to position Evmos in that context?
So the EVM, yes, it has way more maturity than, for example, Cosmos. So in taking from our point of view, we see the EVM also as a product that can be improved. There are a lot of EIPs, these improvement proposals on Ethereum that haven't been fully implemented that can really change the user experience for end users. One of these is like account abstraction, supporting precompiled contracts. And for example, in our case, that we leverage IVC in order to connect all these smart contracts with other chains in the ecosystem. So we're taking more of an experimental and fast-paced EVM where we can like continuously iterate new functionality and new use cases that we can serve our users better. So right now we are using like the EVM implementation from Go Ethereum. I think like in the short to medium term, what we're gonna do is modularize the EVM implementation as much as possible. So Evmos can define its own logic to support unique use cases on the EVM itself. So for example, one of these could be like an IVC precompiled contract directly implemented with custom opcodes. There's also native staking using like the EVM. You can also create some like slashing approval conditions so that imagine if you have a lending protocol and you stake your tokens, your Evmos tokens, you can use the already deposited Evmos as collateral for this lending protocol. And if you get any liquidation, you collect the tokens directly from staking or you slash them directly. So these like approvals that are directly tied with staking are some like unique functionalities that you can create by leveraging like this EVM implementation that we created.
Yeah, and also around a week ago, I think Polygon came out with their CK EVM scaling implementation and solution. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a novel way of mixing the EVM with zero knowledge proof and like privacy in general. I think that and I see this approach from multiple EVM ecosystem chains that are taking more of like a stance, not necessarily having like full EVM equivalence, but implementing, as I mentioned before, different improvement proposals from Ethereum to kind of like serve their user base in a better way. And Polygon is doing so by implementing this like zero knowledge EVM implementation. And we're gonna do so as well with these like custom precompiles and IVCs, IVC directly baked into the EVM and all these functionalities that I mentioned before. Ultimately, what we want is to create this EVM library that makes it super simple for app chains to create their own EVM implementation that is fully customizable.
Okay.
Because right now they have to go through like Go Ethereum and fork the code on like like go through all these like hassle of
Yeah.
yeah. But if we can create a framework for EVM chains in the same way, and have these compatible chains leverage the unique functionalities of Evmos as well through shared security, etc. And using Evmos as the main infrastructure hub, I think it will be like a massive win for Evmos and for the rest of the ecosystem.
Yeah, and then I think that's also a good transition to interchain security, which is another way that you can leverage to attract more protocols, liquidity, and developers to the ecosystem. So it's about to be released on the Cosmos Hub. I think August 1st was actually the date, or I don't even fully remember, but I think it's about to go live on the Cosmos Hub.
I see.
The interchain security on the Cosmos Hub.
I don't think it's going live now.
Yeah, but I think it's about to go live. I think it was like in the final stages of like testing and auditing and all these kind of things, but it's going live soon. So and then you said also that you wanted to talk about this today. So what's up with ICS on Evmos? What's coming?
So the main thing is like we want to make Evmos as the main infrastructure hub and services hub of the entire Cosmos ecosystem, serving not only EVM-based chains, but also chains in the Cosmos ecosystem. So for example, if we have like critical infrastructure that has been deployed on Evmos, like for example, the Gnosis Safe multi-sigs, or the graph, indexers or Oracle services, like for example, Chainlink or other applications and other chains can still use them as their sort of like money Legos through native interoperability. So they can scale from the Evmos chain in the same way that, for example, DYDX first built and deployed on Ethereum and then scaled into announcing now their own application-specific chain. We see that these applications in the future will deploy on Evmos first and then leverage shared security from Evmos and scaling and maturing into their own application-specific chain. So we'll be able to create an ecosystem of EVM-compatible chains directly using all these critical infrastructure on Evmos.
Yeah. And how high is that on your priority list? Like, is there any estimate? Because you said tokenomics is right now the highest priority, and then liquid staking. So what's interchain security on that range?
Yeah, so interchain security will most likely come after liquid staking. We wanna, in order to offer share security, we need high security, and for that we need to create all these incentives and increase the kind of like the reward of just providing security through staking on Evmos. We want to have a really high security in the same way that the Cosmos Hub has at the moment. I mean, the market capitalization of the hub is higher at the moment, and they also have a higher bonding rate. So if we're able to match those, I think we'll be able to position ourselves in a similar or even better way than the Cosmos Hub.
You mean as a security source?
Yeah.
Okay. What is because I'm trying to get the dashboard, but it doesn't show me the number. But I think it's around, what is it, like 15 or 20%, the bonded ratio right now, something like that? Or is it more than 20 already? Do you know?
What?
The bonded ratio right now on Evmos?
Yeah, I think it's around 16%.
16, yeah.
So we have a long way to go up still.
Yeah.
With those Evmos tokens locked up, providing security, I think like our value proposition will drastically improve, and also the utilization of the Evmos token.
Yeah. So what are some of the other things that you guys are currently having your eyes on? I mean, there's been also a bunch of governance proposals, like you mentioned earlier. AP has also done some stuff there to incentivize more liquidity pools and also funding of projects. So what are some of the other things that you guys are currently working on or preparing for?
Yeah, so a lot of a lot of related proposals regarding liquidity, providing liquidity to all these different applications. We also have like in protocol incentives for users and developers. So using those in order to increase the TVL of all these applications is definitely relatively high on our priority, and also registering more of these ERC20s that are fully interoperate with the IBC ecosystem and vice versa. So for example, now that we have like more IBC connections, registering those natively on Evmos so that they can be used on the EVM as an additional source of utility and liquidity for all these Evmos applications that have been deployed.
Another thing that you've also been on a panel a couple of weeks ago with Friends Validator is the whole centralization issue around validators, and I think there's quite a few amount of validators that have a lot of the voting power. So what are some of the things here, as you mentioned earlier, like those are some of the things you want to address to like improve on the Evmos network? Like, what is there any plans like how you could decentralize that more?
Yeah, so on the product side, we're completely changing the way how we're representing this. We believe it's also like something related to more user experience, especially when you go through this list. The same way when you go to like any marketplace and you go like, oh, this one has more reviews and more stars, higher ranking. You purchase those items. In the same way, users that are more inclined to just like go with the first option usually choose the ones that are like in the top of the list. So changing the way we're representing those on the UI is going to be improving that from a product perspective. And then the what we're doing on chain is we're working right now on some foundation delegations that are going to be helping to decrease or like increase the decentralization. And as I mentioned before, these like staking incentives, so that we can provide incentives on top of the current like the rewards from the validators, so that you can go and get even more tokens for providing security to validators that are not necessarily on the top ranking.
Yeah, I think like changing the UI is probably like a very interesting experiment. I don't know, has anybody done that yet?
At least not in the Cosmos ecosystem.
Yeah, is it maybe on Disperse? Do they also show it like that with like ranked on voting power? Maybe Disperse. I think they have it like random. But yeah, it might be an interesting experiment to just say like, you know, we just have a ranking, a random illustration of all the validators. Because like I say, usually if you go and delegate to somebody, you just go to, you know, the top one or the second one because you feel like most confident to delegate to them. But it obviously doesn't contribute more to decentralization. But yeah, interesting stuff. So it seems like you guys are doing a lot of things at a time. How big is your team right now?
We are 15 working full time, and we are also have like 3 or 4 part-timers and contractors.
Nice. Cool. And then I know Kronos, they also implemented, I think you guys helped them initially with the implementation of Ethermint in their EVM chain. And then are you like also collaborating with other projects in Cosmos to help them to implement that, or?
So we implemented, so for context, I was an early Tendermint employee in early 2017, and then work on Cosmos SDK, and then like I implemented and shipped IBC. And right after that, I started working on Ethermint, which is a EVM implementation, which we still own and maintain. So we ship and built the entire EVM implementation on Cosmos that a lot of these applications use. For example, Kronos, as you mentioned. And Yeah, they've been allocating some resources to, for example, surface some bugs on the JSON RPC and help out with some implementation and discussion topics in order to improve the performance of the EVM. So it's been, so far it's been a healthy working relationship with Kronos.
Nice. Yeah, and I remember, I think the first time we did this interview, we were talking about IBC, right? So this was all pre Evmos and everything. And I think most of the interview was actually about IBC itself. But yeah, now times has changed.
Yeah.
Is there anything else from your side that you want to cover, or should we go to some of the community questions?
I think so. Like, I think it's still very early on Evmos. I think we have a lot of room to like grow and improve, especially in like user and developer adoption, like getting more applications, getting more users to like really enjoy like the interoperability on the EVM functionality. We're hiring more core engineers to also help us ship faster and also leverage like these unique functionalities for applications that want to explore the Interchain ecosystem. And yeah, that's I think that's kind of like what I see the long-term vision of fully interconnected smart contracts and applications living on the Interchain without having to like deploy their applications on every single app on every single chain, and just living on Evmos and connecting to every single app chain on Evmos or on Cosmos, sorry, or the EVM through all these interoperability solutions.
Yeah, I think Sushi, they made a tweet where they're like, yeah, you can access our front ends here and here and here, like 12 different links on 12 different chains. And then Sunny tweeted it, or like, the case for app chains. So just one entry point and you're done. But yeah, let's do some community questions. Yeah. So let's see what we have. Robbie's asking why API staking Evmos so high.
So like
and inflation.
Yeah, so that's how the inflation model was like designed initially. High inflation to increase the user adoption and the developer adoption, and so like as time passes, these APY will be decreasing. Also, there's also a variable which is defined by the amount of tokens that have been staked. So the more tokens that have been staked, the more the lesser APY. Sorry, the higher the APY. So to bootstrap kind of like the staking functionality.
Yeah, which also means increasing security of the chain.
Yeah.
Another question from Nampla: what is the difference between Evmos and Kava?
Yeah, so Evmos is the flagship implementation of the EVM. We own and maintain, and we're the creators of the EVM implementation. Kava is just using this library that we created, and our roadmap is the roadmap of the EVM. So we are creating all these functionalities like the precompiled and all that in order to increase the functionality for applications that have been deployed in Evmos. And we also created a token model that is able to create long-term sustained alignment between developers, users, and validators, which is completely innovative and different than any L1. So the applications that will be deployed in Evmos will be attracting all these users because of the 50% transaction fees and also of the user incentives that we have baked into the protocol. And of course, as an application developer, you can access the entire Cosmos ecosystem through native IBC. So you can get additional liquidity, explore new use cases, and access a bigger user base because it's directly connected to the EVM.
No, honestly, I think these usage incentives. I think once a big application will gain a lot of traction, and will also notice that these usage incentives are pretty cool, and another additional like revenue source. I think from there, it could escalate pretty quickly and onboard even more developers. So, really excited to see how that will play out. Let me out, please, is asking, where's your Hawaiian shirt? Last time we did this, we both had very colorful
Yeah,
shirts.
I didn't wear them today for some
Now we're in
reason,
a
but
bear market. We were black now. We're in a bear market. Times have
we've
changed.
been focusing on shipping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
RED is saying, please bring Aave, CRV, and SushiSwap with us clawbacks.
Yeah, I think once we get more incentives or more once applications are really able to see like all the funding that they can get directly from 50% of the transaction fees being shared with the validator, and also all the incentives that we've been baking into the protocol, like the usage incentives, the liquidity incentives, and also like soon the staking incentives. There'll be a clear value. They will see the clear value of like deploying to Evmos because of these new functionalities and these new user base that they can explore and deploy. And yeah, I also saw like an application, like a question regarding like Ethereum blue chips deploying on Evmos, and we've been talking to a few of them. And as I mentioned, like Aave is one of them, and we're also working with another one that, as I mentioned before, we're working on a timeline of around a few weeks for them to get deployed.
Yeah. There's also a question. I just missed it. Where is it again? Question on whether you are going to hire more devs with the monetary allocation. I guess with a clawback or whatever context that was.
So the clawback goes to back to the community pool. So it's up to the Evmos community to decide what to do with those funds. Either that they can use it for incentives, for staking, for for usage incentives on different applications, additional liquidity sourcing, or even like allocate them to grants, or I don't know. There's actually a call, I think in like 45 minutes in our Discord, where we talk about different governance topics, and of course, club, like what to do with those funds that have been clawbacked is one big topic that the community has been discussing.
Yeah. I'm just going through the questions simultaneously. There's a lot of questions about the USP, but I think this is covered also with, as you just explained how Evmos differentiates, for example, to Kava. I think this is pretty clear in terms of the utility and the benefits of the platform as a whole. Another question that I personally get a lot is that people still sometimes text me like that they are having issues with Kepler. Is there what's up with that?
So Kepler works. The only thing is,
Ledger, sorry, with Ledger.
so in order to use Ledger, you need to connect it to MetaMask. We are gonna add support for Ledger on Kepler. So the Kepler team gave us green light to implement the Ethereum Ledger connection to the Kepler like interface, so that you will be able to use Kepler directly with the Ethereum Ledger app in order to interact with all the applications on Evmos.
There we go. Message is asking, how is it possible that Evmos is trending on CoinGecko since relaunch? Are you just clicking it all the time, or what?
I don't know. Just like going on my phone and just like clicking like the search bar and typing Evmos. I don't know.
No, it's just a lot of people search for it, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I think it's honestly because of the high APY at the moment, and given that the market has been crashing, it's a good alternative to just like losing value?
Yeah, like from an investment perspective, and obviously, it's just like what I personally say, nothing like advice or anything, but it gives me early like Osmo vibes, right? Like when Osmo launched in the beginning, we had this very high APRs, and it was like, oh yeah, it's gonna dump the price, but the price just was stable or even went up. So Evmos really held up the portfolio the last few months. But
what happened to your 10K portfolio?
Don't ask.
Don't ask.
Sensitive topic.
Sensitive topic. Oh, how much? Like I think the.
So the point of the portfolio is not to like for people to copy trade me. It's more for people to see how do you play airdrops, how do you provide liquidity, where do you need to click, how do you do superfluid staking, like those kind of like things, because a lot of people ask me all the time like how do I do this and that, so that was the point. And obviously if I did it with real money, so that makes it a bit more spicy. But man, this is it's not over. I mean the market's going to reward at some point, and people like, holy shit, this is insane. And then we'll see. But yeah, it is what it is. Let me see, what else do we have? There's so many comments, but a lot of people have like conversations in the chat. What is this? No, the unclaimed Evmos, some percent must go to stakers. Will work in couple who could stake. I know. I guess you already said like it's up to the community what will happen with these like Evmos, right? Which is what is that? 100 something million dollars at the current price. So yeah. What do you think actually why so much is not claimed? Is that just because it's like too broad and like a lot of people are just unaware, or?
I think that it's mostly from the Ethereum community.
Yeah.
So, like most of the, I think there are like still a bunch of folks that haven't claimed from Atom and on Osmosis, but the folks from the Ethereum kind of like section of the airdrop haven't been fully aware of that they have like tokens that they can claim.
They're not subscribed to my YouTube channel. That's why they don't know about it. That's why they should all
follow you on Twitter. They're not subscribing to your.
They're not in the live streams. Yeah, it is what it is. Guys, I'm not seeing more questions here. I mean, a lot of conversations, a lot of comments. If there's any interesting question, then please drop it now. Otherwise, I think we can wrap it up. Fede, any final words?
No. Well, I guess you can go to, if you want to look at the recording of the Nebular conference. I think it's online now on YouTube, and where I talk a little bit more about like the vision that we have for interchain staking and how we are allowing all these applications to grow and scale using Evmos with ICS on Evmos. And you can follow me on Twitter, federico.evmos, and my profile will appear, and evmos.org on Twitter.
Yeah, and there's just an interesting question that just came in, breaking news. Oh, wait, no, I missed it. So this question, does Evmos ICS plans make it competitive with Atom?
Yeah, so that's a goal. So like our main goal in this period. So now that we've been focusing mostly on stability to ensure that like a smooth user experience for applications and users. Now that we're going to be focusing on like increasing security, increasing TVL, and increasing all the utility through like ICS. So that's why I mentioned like liquid staking and all these like staking incentives in order for us to be competitive with the Cosmos Hub in offering share security.
There we go. I'm excited, yeah, and we should do this more often, like I said in the beginning. I also see a lot of people came in just now, so go back to the beginning, watch the interview. We talked a little bit about our ecosystem, about usage incentives, about the hackathons that are going on. But yeah, I guess next time I'll see you in person is going to be at Cosmos, right? Hopefully.
Of course.
There
You
we
just
go.
need to announce it, man.
That's the Alpha League. But anyways, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for the comments, the questions, the engagement. There were a lot of conversations going on. Fede, thanks for coming on. And yeah, let's do this again soon.
Cool. Bye,
Cheers.
everyone. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.